talk about it. Real truth and power. Health. Wealth. Knowledge of self. Uplifting the community. Let's talk about it. Real truth and power. Health. Wealth. Knowledge of self. Uplifting the community. Let's talk about it. Real truth and power. Health. Wealth. Knowledge of self. Uplifting the community. Let's talk about it.
You are now tuned in to Real Truth and Power, the show that uplifts the community with health, wealth, and knowledge of self. Here's your host, Everett Winchester.
Peace and blessings, family. Peace and blessings. Sorry about that technical difficulty. I wanted to get everybody aware of this powerful guest we had, Brother Bradley Vinson. And just to let you know, he's an advocate for grieving. We all have family members that we've had lost ones in our lives. And so I think this brother's going to have some powerful knowledge for us. I reached out to him because one of my parents of my football team noticed I had a lot of my former players passing away. And she was saying I need to reach out to somebody and sent me an article of some coaches that were losing kids and it was impacting them and making them depressed. And I had just lost my father. And then I realized, you know what, I am in some kind of depressive state. And, I didn't realize it at the time. So this is very powerful for me to reach out to some people and, it's okay to grieve. But let me bring in our guest and we're going to talk all about it. Hold on one second. I'm so blessed today to have a powerful guest on the line, our brother Bradley Vinson. Peace and blessings to you, brother Bradley. Could you introduce yourself to the people?
Yeah, I just kind of call myself Bradley, man. I'm just a servant of the people, and I do my best to care for people, man. And I'm just happy to be here, man. Thank you for inviting me. I'm ready to have a good time and just kind of pour into the community, man, and make it do what it do. I say.
Oh man, awesome! I'm so blessed to have you here because you're an advocate for grieving. You deal with people that are grieving and push that a lot. And for those that don't know it, Real Truth and Power, we try to uplift the Black community, especially with health, wealth, and knowledge itself. And some of the things that I've come across in my life and other people that I've seen is dealing with grief. Tell a little bit about your story and how you got into the being an advocate for counseling for the grieving.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really that long of a story, but I've considered myself a servant for a while. That's kind of who I am, right? See somebody in the grocery store that can't reach the salt on the top shelf. I'm that guy running over trying to help them, And that's just kind of, I love serving people and empowering people. And quite recently, about 5.5 years ago, I started seminary, and I was there to focus on doing men's ministry and couples ministry.
Okay.
And about halfway through my studies, tragedy struck my family. Our 4-year-old granddaughter, Alana, passed away in a car accident. And it completely changed my focus of ministry. It changed my focus of life. What am I doing here? What is life really about? Is it worth it? Because we all getting out of here in the end, right? And it's like all these things going through my head. And as I was looking for resources to help my family and myself heal and travel this journey well, I realized it wasn't much out there for men, for grandparents like I am. And I started studying and ministering to people that were in those categories, right? Grandparents and men. And it just kind of changed my heart for ministry that that's what I should be doing. And so really months after her passing, within 3 or 4 months, I started serving and ministering to the grieving community. And right now I'm a chaplain, a volunteer chaplain with my local fire and police departments. So I go out with them, when they need a chaplain. I'll just say it that way. And I actually serve the fire and police departments also as a chaplain. And then I just go, I speak and train on grief topics. I call it, I serve the grieving community and those that care for them. So while I'm trying to serve those that are grieving, I know there's another group of people that care for grieving people that need help too. And so I just found myself in that circle of serving, and I've been doing it now roughly. Oh, wow. She passed away May 11th, 2016, a date I will never forget. So now we're a little bit over 4 years in. So I've been roughly doing this for about 4 years. And I just, I serve where I can and do what I can. And so that's kind of where I am with it right now.
And that was your granddaughter that passed, correct?
My 4-year-old granddaughter. She was 4 at the time.
Man, that's just, I don't know how I could deal with that. I want to go into grieving a little bit. How important is it for us to deal with it internally? What are some signs? Because some people may not even know that they're grieving. I had, like we talked earlier, I had a situation. A couple of my former players were passing, and I was grieving but didn't even know it until someone made me aware. Talk about some of the signs and how important it is to just reach out, get some help, and release some of that frustration and tension.
Yeah, and this is not even male specific, right? This is just grief in general. And what I tell people is that grief is going to have its time. You can't wash enough cars. You can't build enough bird houses. You can't stay busy enough for grief not to have its time. Your body knows. I relate it to when I found out that my granddaughter passed away when I was at my office. So I got the phone call from my wife. I rushed home. We rushed to Louisiana. We live in Texas to go care for our daughter and do all that, right? And I finally get back to work about 3 weeks later. And I'm kind of zombie, I'm just at work, but not doing no work. My work day was over. I get in my car, and as I started to drive down the circle driveway to get to the street from our parking tower, I just started weeping and crying because my body remembered that was the last thing I did when I heard about my granddaughter.
Oh, man.
And my body remembered last time you drove out of this parking garage, you was going to see about your granddaughter that passed away. And my body knew, right? Your body knows you're grieving. And I tell people, there's no time limit on grief. There's no, you'll be okay in 3 months. There's none of that. What I suggest people do is to lean into their grief, because grief will naturally take you to healing. The journey of grief will naturally take you to healing. If you lean into it, yes, it may be quicker. There's no guarantee, but just being aware of it, right? You want to be realistic that you are grieving. And I tell people you have to care for yourself. And there's an acronym that's used by counselors, but I have an acronym that's called, I think we call it DEEPER, right? You got to drink something, right? Take in some liquids. exercise, express yourself, let somebody know you're grieving, right? Then there's a time for prayer. There's a time to re-energize. There's a time for rest, right? And so you have to do those things. And then we have the E of you have to expect it to get better. I remember telling folks about 2 years ago, maybe even a year ago, and I would say, sad is up the mountain from where I am right now. I am deeply grieving my granddaughter. Sad is way away from where I am. But I will be pleased when I can get to sad. And then one day I can get to contemplation. Then one day, so expect it to get better. We all go through a woe is me period, but expect it to get better. Lean into it. Expect that you're going to get better, right? Expect that there's healing on this journey. And so, but those are the things I tell folks. And what happens, honestly, when you're grieving, you feel isolation. You feel like you're alone. You get angry. You're mad because other people aren't grieving. I was mad driving to the grocery store. How dare y'all be on the road? My granddaughter's dead. Don't you care? How dare you be shopping? How dare you be smiling? How dare I see kids riding their bicycles and my granddaughter can't ride hers, right? It's like my world is shattered. Why isn't your world shattered? That's natural.
That's interesting you said that. And now as I look back at a lot of the things I went through, I remember my grandmother passing and we were at the funeral. And I mean, I was just so frustrated. People were on their phones and might not making any noise, disturbing the service. Right. But I mean, I was pissed. I'm like, I can't believe this is my grandmother. And I held on to that anger for a few days. Like, yeah. I don't even know why I was like that. And so I'm glad you pointed that out, because when we're grieving, we make it about ourselves, but right. We don't know how to let that emotion out. But you mentioned something, and I really need you to elaborate on that, especially in our community, being a male, how we have to be so strong, how we don't want to show weakness. We teach our kids, man, don't cry. I'm from Baltimore, and Lamar Jackson, the quarterback of the Baltimore Ravens, his father and grandmother passed away on the same day. And I heard him talking, and he said he bust out crying. And when he found out about his dad, I believe, and his mom was like, don't cry, so he just sucked it up. And then the next thing you know, and this is on his interview, he was saying his grandmother died. She was like, come on, you got to be tough. Because she's now the mom and the dad, so she's trying to give him that strength. And he was like, how am I supposed to not cry? I'm shook. Right. And but he made him tough and made him strong. But at times that could have also affected him when he's going through trials and tribulations, to let that out. Talk about how we get that masculinity in our males to hold on to things, and it could hurt us, emotionally and scar.
Right. I give everybody this example. Whenever I speak to a mixed group of men and women, I give them two things. I would say, which one would you help and what would you do? So here's the scenario. If you find a man and a woman both broke down on the side of the road, all things being equal, who would you stop and help? To a person, everybody raised their hand, said the woman. I said, okay. Here's the next thing. What would you do? If you were broke down on the side of the road, men and women, what would you do first? Women, to a person, I'm going to jump on my phone and call somebody. Men, to a person, I'm going to get out and inspect and see what's wrong. So in our society, first, we figure men can do it themselves. You can figure it out. You're a man. And then men perpetuate that by saying, let me check it out first, because maybe I can fix it. So now we get to grief, and that starts to happen. And it's not foreign to say, tough it up. You got it. Work on that. Right? Men don't cry. Be strong. And here's the deal. When you start to avoid the full spectrum of emotion, you are hurting yourself. And from babies up to grown men, we emote pretty much every emotion through anger. I'm sad, I'm angry. I'm scared, fight or flight,
Yeah.
right? I'm angry, I'm angry. I'm grumpy, I'm angry. So you don't know how to do nothing but be angry. So now when this new emotion comes, that's grief, and you start to have natural human emotion, people are like, what you crying for? That's embarrassing to see a man cry. Number one, strength is a fallacy. You ain't being strong. You're just holding it in, making your heart hard and preventing yourself from healing, right? And then for people to expect that of you is hurting your healing because they crying and then telling you to be strong, right? So I don't get to have that emotion too. I can't own that emotion, right? One of the most powerful things I did with my grandsons, now 10 and 5, 10 and 6, about to be 11 and 6, was to cry in front of them. Not boo-hoo cry, lay out on the floor, slobbing at the mouth.
Right.
Because there's a time for that. I need to go to my closet for that, right?
Right.
But for them to see tears and see it's natural. Because they used to say, I'll be sitting there just watching TV and I'm quiet. And they would say, Papa, are you thinking about Alana? And even if I wasn't, I took that as a cue. And I would say, yes, I am. I said, are you thinking about it? Yeah, Papa, and I feel sad. Well, it's okay to feel sad. And we talk through that. Or I would say, I'm thinking about your sister today. I'm just having a bad day. And, and some tears might come out. Right. And they see me cry. They know that's a natural emotion that they can have. It's not making them soft. It's making them well-rounded men at some point. Right. And here's one thing, and I would tell people, it's amazing how we let somebody else's grief make us uncomfortable.
That's it.
Right. Yeah. Naturally, if somebody's in front of you right now and they start crying, what you going to do? Hand them a tissue. Did you know that's an unconscious sign of please stop crying? Wow.
I never thought of that.
And what I tell people, and I actually use it as a joke, and I say, wait until you see snot. Because naturally, when you cry, your nose starts running and snot coming out, right? I give them tissue to wipe their nose. And after that amount of time, they're pretty much through crying then too. Whenever I first see tears, I don't have nobody no tissue. I'm going to sit in that with them and let them be comfortable in their tears. And when they apologize for their tears, I say, don't apologize. You will grieve much because you loved much.
Man, you just educated me on that. You just educated me on that because now I remember times if I'm at a funeral, you try not to cry. Usually what gets me is when somebody else that's a man cries. Then I'm like, oh man, now you done got me emotional. And usually if I'm with my wife, she'll hand me tissue.
Yeah.
And I immediately stop crying. It's like, let me wipe it up and let's shake that off. That is just amazing. I never thought of that. Just to let it pour out. Let me ask you some of the ways some people can release their tension or get counseling, get some help. What are some signs that they may need to look for?
Well, the thing about it, I tell folks, you want to try to grieve in a healthy way, right? And what is a healthy way, right? When you're not self-medicating, when you're not doing dangerous activities. Like if you ain't never did no skydiving before or ran with the bulls and none of that kind of stuff, or sword fighting, don't start that stuff up because you're grieving.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? You start all this kind of dangerous kind of stuff. And men tend to, I call it, ideate or have ideas about death, right? Well, life is over, this, that, whatever. So men tend to start ideation about not being here no more.
Right.
You got to watch that. When you start having those kind of things, you need to be able to release that and talk to somebody about it, right? Some people aren't ready to release to a person. Try to release that into a journal or onto a tape recorder, into whatever else, right? You want to try to get those things out. But the thing about it, and here's what I say. when you're thinking about needing help or stuff like that, you have to figure out what you're carrying,
Mhm.
right? And I say it like this. So I'm grieving my granddaughter right now, right? But I'm also a husband, I'm a grandfather, I'm a father. And so I'm carrying all this stuff. What can I get somebody to help me carry? Because now I'm carrying that grief too, right? Can I walk with somebody for a little while, let them help me carry that? Am I trying to carry my daughter's grief, my granddaughter's mother? Am I trying to carry my wife's grief? That's theirs to carry, right? You have to realize how much stuff you're carrying and how much can you unpack. Not leave the person that you're grieving behind. It's moving forward, not moving on. It's moving forward. There's a difference, right? And
Mhm.
so, and then you have to think about it. Just like when they say in the airplane, I got to put my oxygen on first. I can't serve my wife. I can't serve my grandsons. I can't do ministry until I take care of me. It's okay to be selfish as long as you're doing it in a healthy way. You're not, sitting in the closet smoking and drinking yourself to
Right.
death or medicate, But if you need alone time, you need that cave time, you need that I'm gonna go sit in the park 2 or 3 hour time. That's part of your healing. So you got to be okay with doing that. Now, here is part of the grand rule I tell grievers. I call it the 100-0 rule.
Okay.
And if people took this on, I think it would help them so much. The 100-0 rule. You are 100% in control of making people aware of your grief.
Mm.
100%. You are 0% in control of how they respond. What we do as grievers is we take on so much of the burden of how other people feel about us grieving.
That's right.
Then we don't seek help. We try to cocoon. We try to self-med because I don't want to cry in front of somebody because it's going to make them feel bad. I don't want to tell my buddies I don't feel like going to play golf, but I go because I don't want to make them feel bad. No, you need to make your friends aware. The person I was the day before my granddaughter died, I am no longer that person.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, I'm no longer that person. But I
Yeah.
want you to continue to walk with me in the new person that I am. I am grieving. And whenever you want to talk about my granddaughter, I want to talk about her. But you need to be comfortable if you see tears when I'm talking about my granddaughter, because I'm comfortable with it. I'm living my 100-0. I can't be burdened with how you feel about my grief. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things outside of be strong, men should, you should. A lot of that stems from how are they going to see my grief? You have no control over that.
That was, man, you flowing today. I don't want to hold you up. I got a few more questions for you, but you
Yeah.
said something that was definitely something I want people to be aware of is self-medicating, alcohol, smoking, or whatever the case may be. Even if they do it leisurely, it
Yeah.
seems to pick up when they're grieving. Number one, you're taking time off. You're home alone, or you're not working. Probably you have more time on your hands to think. You're probably drinking more, or self-medicating. Talk about the dangers of that, and to watch out for it, and to make sure that they don't go too far into it.
Yeah. Well, studies have shown that men tend to have more medical issues after a grief event than women,
Wow.
because typically men don't go to the doctor anyway,
Right.
right? Then mama die. I ain't thinking about no doctor,
Right.
right? I might be emotionally eating or emotionally not eating or whatever else. And to be quite frank with you, after my granddaughter passed away, I didn't care about myself. I didn't self-medicate, but I didn't self-care, right? So I go about 8 months in, maybe a year in, and some of the fog started to lift. And I go back for my man checkup, and I have prostate issues. And I couldn't even fathom in my mind's calendar if they actually started before my granddaughter died or after she died. Because
Right.
I was in such a fog. He was like, well, I mean, we men, I'm going to talk about it. Hey, you have any problems urinating or whatever? I'm like,
Right.
yeah, it's slow or whatever else. I'm at that age. He was like, no, dude, you're too young for that. When did it start? And I couldn't answer him because I didn't remember the life I had before my granddaughter passed.
Right.
Right.
Wow.
And so when you're not going to the doctor and stuff like that, now you show up at the doctor, you got heart issues, you got this, you got that. And now you have all these medical things on top of your grief. Right. Now, if you're self-medicating, and I use the word loosely, medicating, right? You're destroying your body while you're grieving, which is already hard, actually physically, on your lungs and on your heart anyway. One of the first things I tell people when they're grieving, breathe. I don't know how many days I had to tell myself to breathe. When I'm sitting there and I'm realizing, like, and all of a sudden, you're not breathing.
Yeah.
You have to mentally now do things that you used to do naturally. Lay down and go to sleep. Eat at lunchtime. All that stuff now you have to make yourself do. And when you're self-medicating, all that does is temper down symptoms, don't heal nothing, right? Because after you come off that high, come up off the low or whatever it is you did, life is still right there. And then the next time the high don't get you as high, so now you got to do more, and you're doing more destruction, right? And so it's the same thing. At some point, you got to be a man or be a woman or be whatever and be like, you know what? This is not honoring my loved one by destroying my body for them. I wouldn't be doing this if they were alive. Why would I destroy my body now because they're gone? Because you're not honoring them by doing that.
Right.
And using them for an excuse to destroy yourself is not loving.
Right.
Because I'm that guy too. I'm going to be hard on people. I'm that guy too. Because I also tell people that are grieving, you have to be willing to grieve with grace. Because we talked about it before.
Right.
You have to have grace for people that are not even grieving. You have to have grace for people that are in your family that are not grieving your loved ones like you. You don't know their relationship. And everybody's grieving their own way. You got to have grace in that and walk your journey. My wife and I share the journey of my granddaughter as grandparents. But there's a portion of that journey that's only for my wife. Because she told me one day, I realized I've lost the legacy of motherhood. As a man, I've never thought about that.
Right.
Because men, when you have daughters, they're going to take some other guy's name, But for women, it's motherhood. That's a whole legacy for them. I'm a mother. Oh, she's going to be a mother one day. My granddaughter's going to be a mother one day. Now that's severed.
Right.
So that's part of her grief journey that I can walk with her on, but that's hers. Losing the legacy of motherhood, right? So we have to be able to grieve with grace for ourselves and for others. And it's just like, put on your big boy pants, put on your big girl pants, and there's stuff that you can't do that's destructive.
Right. Right.
You got to lean into your healing. You have to.
Talk a little bit about health because you hit on that a little bit. I just want you to elaborate how the mental can affect your health. I've heard a lot of stories of like if a husband is old and he dies, and then like the next couple hours the wife dies. I forgot, one was a football star or something, and he said my mom had a broken heart. She's never lived without him. That's when he felt. But like you said, when you're grieving and you're holding all of that in, or you, like you said, one of the main things with us is being angry. When you're not in a good mental state, it can affect you mentally. I mean, physically.
Yeah. And I do believe of dying from a broken heart. I really do believe that happens. That is a phenomenon that I believe that happens.
Wow.
I also believe that people can get to the point where their willingness to live is diminished, right? Because and you can call it depression, you can call it woe is me, you can call it whatever you want to, clinically or whatever else. there's a period of what is this worth, right?
Mhm.
When people start leaving your life that way, and you go through a phase of, okay, well, I'm about ready to get out of here too, right? So there's a level of mental feeling that creates a physical thing. I mean, even think about this. If somebody is always grumpy, don't they just look older?
Yeah, that's you're right. You're right.
And that's basically attitude making you look old and ugly.
Hmm.
So think about the attitude of just not caring in a general sense, how that can affect your lungs and your heart and your skin and your outlook on life, right? You a whole person, spiritual, mental, physical, right? You are a whole person. And all those things work with each other. You exercise more, your skin tightens up, right?
Hmm.
So it's all these things, right? I think I'm handsome, and even if I'm ugly, I'm gonna carry myself different, right?
Right.
And so all those things work together. So they work together that way in grief too. When you're grieving heavily, you got to be more self-aware and be like, would I be doing this if I wasn't grieving?
Right. You know, a lot of people think sometimes grieving is just the loss of a loved one or something like that. I mean, you could be grieving from losing your job, the pandemic, you know, business is slow, or, you know, you're not around loved ones like you want to be, and, you know, you're just grieving. It's like a bad time. A lot of people are grieving just the 2020, so it doesn't have to be a loved one. You know, it could be a lot of circumstances that affect us, and like you say, mentally affect us physically. And I've had a few people say, man, you know, I was just upset through the pandemic. I picked up weight. I stopped doing things. And I'm thinking, like, why did you do that when we're in a pandemic? You have more time because you're not working. Maybe you can work out more and you know, exercise, or just play a video game or something else. Do something that you didn't have time to do, even though you can't go out as much. So that was
Right.
something as well.
It was crazy that you say that because I've been doing a lot of podcasts and things and interviews about grief, usually grieving by death, due
Hmm.
to death. And as every one of them have turned into a pandemic talk,
Wow.
because what's going on now is that I call it the rest of the grieving community, right? Because usually when you say grief is by death, I mean, that's just natural people think. But the grieving community as a whole, right? So loss of job, loss of health, loss of finances, loss of relationship. Those communities now are starting to lean in and be like, that's what that is. I'm grieving. I'm not frustrated. I'm grieving. And they're recognizing it now, right? And so there's this whole other group of people that are putting the right definitions on things. No, I'm not frustrated. I'm grieving not being able to be around people. I'm grieving. I'm hurt. I'm physically hurting because I can't go out with my friends or see my mom or whatever else, right? And they're realizing that's what that is. And now that they know what it is, they can lean into things that's going to help them heal from it. Because as one point, not to beleaguer it, but as for one point, uh, I'm kind of, I mean, you might not notice this, but I'm kind of a introvert naturally until I'm kind of talking and teaching, then it comes out, right? But I'm a natural introvert, and I'm not a big phone call person, email person, whatever else. And I realized now that we're in the pandemic, I even talk to people less,
Mm.
right? So the people you used to see at church, the people you used to see at work, the people you used to bump into at the grocery store, that I don't have to call Johnny because I'm gonna see him at work,
Right.
right? So now you at home and you ain't talked to Johnny in 6 months.
Right. Right.
You see what I'm saying? Because
Right.
those natural ways to bump into people are gone. And so I encourage people to take that little extra time, dig into that contact list, and just call somebody. The people you would naturally see every day, you haven't seen now for several months, and just chew the fat with them about nothing,
Hmm.
about basketball, or the water cooler talk. You ain't doing none of that because you at home, right? And so you have to make that extra effort. And those are things that can kind of help with your grief, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just reach out and talk to Johnny or Bill or, or whoever. Call that cousin that you would see every 6 months when the family get together. But now y'all ain't getting together. But that's kind of, a cool cousin that you would always sit down and talk to and play dominoes with. But now you ain't talked to him in 8 months.
Right.
Because you ain't had that family meeting.
Right.
Call them.
Yeah, it's funny you said that because my wife, she doesn't play with the pandemic. I mean, her mother, my mother, she's like, no, y'all can't come in. Our older daughter, she's like, man, you were out in Atlanta. No, you need to calm down. Isolate yourself. She doesn't play. But we had like a cookout one time, and I was like, just come on over, just them, just our intermediate family. I just realized how good I felt that I haven't socialized with people like that. You're not around people like that. I did a couple protests, but besides that, just to talk and be around family, how important that feeling was to me. It was just powerful. It was powerful.
Yeah.
But Bradley,
do not deny yourself kind of, getting with people through the phone, through Zoom, whatever, man. But you got to get yourself with people some kind of way.
I want to thank you. Before you leave, please close out. Just tell the people, what they can do if they feel they're grieving, or some of the signs that if they see it, and how they can reach out to you and what you can provide. Anything.
Yeah, I mean, the easiest way to kind of reach out to me is just going to BradleyVinson.com. You can also shoot. Yeah, appreciate that. That's the easiest way. I mean, I am very responsive. You can go there and shoot me an email from the website. I'm available to speak. Here's the deal. And I keep myself open for this. If you are dealing with grief, I'm not a counselor. I consider myself an advocate for the grieving, and I walk alongside those who are grieving. If you are struggling or you have a friend that's struggling, reach out to me. I am more than willing to walk a part of the journey with you to help you. Because it's not about, you want people to get to their healing, right? Not as fast as possible, but to get there, to be on that journey, right? And so I'm available for that. So visit the website, shoot me an email. But then I want to remind people, care for yourself. Remember the 100-0 rule. But then, look after people that are in your lives, right? If you know somebody that's grieving, that have been through something, and they've isolated themselves from you, they're not leaving you. They're grieving.
Right.
Reach out to them. Say, hey, I miss you. Just want to check on how you're doing. I know this week is your mom's birthday. Just care for people. Now, I want to also encourage grievers this, and this is going to be a hard one, but I want you to think about this if you're grieving. We already self-isolate a little bit. And a lot of people always say, when I'm grieving, my contact list changes. So-and-so deserted me, and so-and-so deserted me in my grief. I want you to rethink that. I want to give you an assignment right now. Rethink that. Because if they loved you, because you know who loved you. You know who your friends were. And you went through your grief event and they seemed like they disappeared. I want you to think for a second. Could they be grieving you? Mm-hmm. And grieving the you that you used to be before your grief? And they don't know how to respond to you. They don't know how to talk to you because they're hurting. I want to encourage you. Look on that list of folks that you think have deserted you. And you know who really loved you. You know who was your ride or die that seemed like they deserted you. Call them up and say, hey, I've been thinking about you. I miss you. And I just realized you might be grieving me and the friend I used to be before I lost XYZ. And I want to let you know I miss you. And I would love for you to walk some of this journey with me. I'm trying to heal, and maybe we can heal together. I'm telling you, man, that'll change your life. That'll help you on your grief journey to lean in towards healing. And all those people that don't think they can talk to a counselor, there's a friend in your life that's waiting in the wings. Just have a little grace while you're grieving. Don't expect everybody to cater to you, to love on you, and to call you. Think about those people that love you. And when you had your grief event, they don't know what to do with you no more. Because that happy-go-lucky, let's go shopping, let's go play golf, Let's play Xbox. You ain't that person.
Hmm.
So they're probably grieving you. And I challenge y'all, give them a chance. Reach out to some of them people you think deserted you and say, hey, I miss you. And I just want to talk to you about what's going on in my life. It'll change your whole grief journey. It ain't easy, but it's more than worth it. So I want to leave you with that, if anything.
Oh my goodness, that was powerful. And before I close out, I just want to just tell you, I'm that guy. I try to reach out early, and then I'm like, I'm grieving. I know they're hurting. I don't know what to say. And now that's making me want to reach out to them a little more. But also when I go through that, now, that was just powerful, Brother Bradley. I just want to thank you so much again. And for anybody that's watching this, please share this with anybody that's grieving. And I just want to thank you again, and peace and blessings.
Oh, yeah. Appreciate you, brother. Thank
Not a
you.
problem. All right. All right, family. All right. First of all, sorry for those technical difficulties. I'm working on a new system, but I believe I might have hit a button, but that's why we pre-record a lot of our interviews. So I was blessed to pre-record it because I knew we had a new system, and it actually worked well. I think I might have hit a video, but I hope you guys got the gist of that interview. One of the most powerful things I thought Brother Bradley mentioned was when we're going through a lot of pain and grieving and stuff like that. One of the things is that our loved ones, our ride or die people, seem like they leave our lives, but that's not necessarily the case. They may not know how to deal with us. You know what I mean? And that makes me think a lot now. You know, if I was going through hard times, where were you, man? You know, you're not calling me or anything like that. It is very difficult to deal with someone grieving. I'm that way. You know, if one of my friends passes away, or you know, I kind of not deal with the rest of the guys or my crew. If I lose and again, I was telling you, I lost a lot of former players, and these are young men. Um, and I coach my son, so my son actually knew these guys, and he's mourning, and I really don't even know how to talk to him about it. And it's very tough, not just because you're mourning, when someone else is mourning. It's hard to reach out to them. You know what I mean? So now when you're mourning and you notice your friends aren't calling you, they may not know how to deal with the situation. They may not know how to talk to you. Call them up, like Brother Bradley says. Say, hey, man, I'm reaching out to you. And another thing that was very important that I thought he said was admit you're grieving. Wear it on your shoulder. You know what I mean? Wear that pain on your shoulder. Don't hold it in. You know, let everybody know that you're going through something that is that hurts. Let everybody know that you're in pain. You know, I think that was very powerful because I don't do that. You know what I mean? If I'm hurting, it is very hard for me to express myself. It is very hard for me to admit my pain. You know, and another thing he said that is very important is we take out our pain on the people close to us. He mentioned something about being angry. You know what I mean? And I had to think about that. You know what I mean? When my dad died, you know, I was acting like I was okay. I was acting like everything was okay. And then right after my father passed, one of my players, and I love all my kids, one of my players passed away. And, you know, I love his mother, but I felt uncomfortable even talking to his mom about it. I knew she was grieving and I was grieving. And, you know, I was just angry. I was zapping out all the time. I was angry. And, you know, it's just hard to deal with death on a lot of areas. It's hard to deal with it. Me learning knowledge now and getting into a lot of the comedic studies and stuff like that, we understand, especially in the African traditions, that you know there's life after this place, and their spirits are with our ancestors, and they become ancestors. And not only are they with us in spirit, they're watching over us, and we can talk to them, we can pray, create altars, and things of that nature, just to you know, reach out to them spiritually. And once I started realizing that, you know, I felt better. And you know, I still have to go back in time now to some of the things when I was grieving and try to deal with that. And to be honest with you, when Brother Bradley was speaking, I was kind of thinking and getting emotional, holding back tears. Yeah, I'm that guy. I cry during movies and stuff like that. I can admit it. I had like it's dust in my eyes and stuff. But, these are things that, it's hard to deal with. And it doesn't always have to be about death. You could be struggling with your job and you could be depressed. Grief doesn't mean just someone passing away. Grief could mean a lot of things. You lost your job. You have a child on the way and you're worried about your finances. Your job is stressing you out. All of these things make us frustrated. All of these things make us, unhealthy, because if you're unhealthy mentally, it affects you physically. And I thought that, I was okay. I thought that, man, another player got shot. Another player got hit and killed. Another player got shot. Man, this kid that I love was a young guy and he's arrested. All of these things bear with you. My dad's passing. Times are hard. I got to let an employee go because they're not anything that could stress you out. Open up and just, hey, I'm frustrated. Wear it on your shoulder. But again, the worst thing is losing a loved one. And I want to shout out Brother Bradley because he lost a grandchild. I couldn't imagine losing a grandchild. I couldn't imagine it. Losing a child in general. In fact, as I hope everybody's doing, and we're going to bring Ayana Bell back on here soon because she deals with life insurance. I didn't even want to get life insurance on my kids because I was thinking I'm not even going to think about that. I'm going to die before them and bad things happen. That's how hard it is to deal with death when you don't even want to get life insurance on your kids, to make sure that they get buried properly. You see a lot of people getting GoFundMe and stuff like that because they can't deal with the death. So I just thought that this was just powerful. I want to thank everybody for listening. Again, I'm sorry about the technical difficulty with the interview, but we did get it in full, and it was powerful, man. And I want to thank Brother Bradley again. And before I let you guys go, I just wanted to just speak on one more thing that he said that I thought was very important. It's okay to cry. It's okay to let yourself out. It's okay to grieve. And like he said, he's not a counselor. I like what he says better. He's an advocate. He's saying it's okay to grieve. When you go to a counselor sometimes, they want to talk about fixing the problem, stuff like that. But this brother talked about, fix the problem. Let that out. Let everybody know that you're hurting inside. Don't hold that pain in. And so, that was just powerful. It was powerful. And even the part when he was talking about, when you're in church or at a funeral, when someone's crying, you give them tissue. That to me was very powerful because what happens when you get the tissue, you wiping the tears to stop crying. And he says, I don't give out tissue. I let you cry. I want you to cry. I want to be there for you. I want you to let that pain out and wear it. So if you guys are hurting, if you know somebody hurting, if they're going through just difficult times in life, work, stress, illness, people that aren't doing well mentally or physically, and that they're grieving or they know someone that's grieving, share this information out to them. If you're grieving and this information is helping you and you've noticed your friends aren't reaching out to you, your friends aren't reaching out to you, reach out to them. Let them know you're okay because they may feel uncomfortable. So I want to thank Brother Bradley. Thank you guys for staying tuned in and watching this powerful interview. Again, sorry for the skip in the first part of the interview, but we got it in. And we're learning as we grow. Please hit that like and that subscribe button because we want to get all this information out to all the people. For all those that don't know, Real Truth and Power is just here to bring people together, uplift the community with health, wealth, and knowledge of self. And we got a lot of powerful shows coming up. We're going to be talking about the debate. We had one talking about the presidential debate, and we had some call-ins, and we're going to have another show talking about the vice presidential debate with our powerful guest, Brother Jay Rich, and hopefully Brother Noob can get back on. So we're doing some great things. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. And again, all I can say is if you're in trouble, You know, you got my email, realtruthandpower@gmail.com. I don't even know if I don't know you. If you just need some encouraging words or want to talk, reach out to me. If you're just going through hard times, we're just here to help each other and uplift each other. So shout out to brother Bradley, man, and just thank you guys for tuning in. We've been doing a lot of good shows. I just started this platform, and since we started the platform, it's just been doing phenomenal. We just want to keep doing positive work, bringing people together, not separating people, bringing our community together so we can uplift, so we can grow and we can build. So I want to say Hotep, which means peace and blessings, and stay tuned for the next show. Go to YouTube, go to Real Truth and Power. We stream on YouTube at Real Truth and Power. We're also in the Collective Black People Movement and also the UNIA 421. So look at those channels if you want to watch us. And of course, Real Truth and Power on Facebook. You can catch us on Twitter, Periscope. We're all over. Africa TV, Twitch TV. So again, thanks again, man. And that was a blessing. I hope that hit you. I hope that motivated you to reach out to someone and help them. And I love you guys. Peace and blessings.
Real truth and power, health, wealth, knowledge of self, uplifting the community. Let's talk about it. Real truth and power, health, wealth, knowledge of self, uplifting the community. Let's talk about it. Real truth and power, health, wealth, knowledge of self, uplifting the community. Let's talk about it. Real truth and power, health, wealth, knowledge of self, uplifting the community. Let's talk